So I know you had a busy week.
Yes.
You seem off, but that's okay.
I am just tired. I've had a long week.
Well, you know what? I had a relatively uneventful week, and that can be told very quickly, and you could get into all your busy nonsense. I don't recall if I mentioned it on the show last week. Let's assume I didn't. Okay. Both me and April went to go get glasses.
Ooh, because you missed your old glasses.
Right. You miss our old glasses. Well, she went and she had her eye appointment last Friday. And then I had mine the following Wednesday, which would have been like a week. Right. So she has her eye appointment on Friday. She gets the prescription. And listen, we're cheap. We go to Walmart to get our frames and everything else like that. It's just cheaper that way, right?
Right.
Not to say that we don't have to pay a ton of money, but we'd have to pay a lot more money if we were getting it at the optometrist place. So she's looking, and she's got 6 different frames picked out, and she's got it narrowed down to 2. And she goes, oh, you should take this time to look for, a new pair for you. I walk over. I see the exact frames that I'm currently wearing, and I'm like, those are the ones I'm going to get, right? So, I get my eye appointment on Wednesday. So a week ago, as you're listening to this, right? Rule of thumb for everyone: don't drive with your eyes dilated.
No, that's bad.
You could do it, but I don't recommend doing it.
As long as it's not bright.
It was bright. But I made it home safely, or as safe as I could.
Right.
It did take my eyes, a little while to get adjusted, of course. So we have our prescriptions. We go up that Wednesday. We're like, okay, we go through the whole process to order our glasses. This is what we're going to do, so on and so forth. So today, as we record these, my glasses came in. April's are going to be like a day behind. So I went up and I have my new glasses. Everything is clearer now.
Right.
And whatever technology they used, my lenses are much less thick than they were before. Right. They've always been very thick. I've had horrible eyesight since I was in 2nd grade, and I've always had very thick lenses. And it was a period of time where, like, the thickness was going up, and then it was going down, then it went back up again, and now it's on the downward trend.
That's good. I had the same thing. I had thick glasses, and then when I went and I got my last batch of them, they were a lot thinner, but they're still pretty Coke bottle-y.
Oh yeah, they're still pretty thick, but like it's a noticeable difference of a less amount of weight on my head from my glasses. But yeah, that's it. So we'll revisit these again in about 5 years, and when we have to take care of these sort of things, Yep.
I might have to go for a new pair soon, but we shall see on that. We shall see. Literally.
So the only other thing that I did this week was we went to like there's a whole bunch of like little like kids or like preteen theater groups in the area. I know there's one that runs at the old Ritz Theater up in Scranton way.
Okay.
There's a couple up this way. There's one that works out of the back of the Wyoming Valley Mall. There's another one over in, where the Red Lobster is in Wilkes-Barre?
Yeah.
It's like back there. So Ace's little friend was in a musical, and we went to go see him to support them.
Oh, he was actually in the musical?
Not Asa, but Ace's little friend.
Oh, okay. I misheard.
Yeah. No, there was a period of time where he kind of toyed with it. This is actually the first year that Ace has been going to school that he's actually wanting to do all the Spirit Week stuff. Because every year it's just like, no, you want to do it, let's do it. You don't want to do it, I'm not going to beat you up over it. You do what you want to do, right?
Right.
So this year he's like, oh, we got to do everything. I'm like, all right, we're doing everything. So that's like the stupid socks and the mixed up things and all those sort of stuff. But I'm just happy whenever he shows like that sort of interest in something,
Right. Showing some some moxie on something,
Something, and he does with his music and everything, his piano and his drums and everything else like that, on Scouts, and there's only so much time in a week for us to do everything,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like his friend who was in the little musical, like, gave up everything else just to do this,
right?
Because that's how much time it took up. It was like, you're doing these like 2 or 3 things or just the musical stuff, and he's like, I'm just gonna do the musical stuff, and gave everything else up.
Right.
And I don't think Ace is ready to give everything else up for just one big thing.
Yeah, you got that. You have to be truly dedicated to do. You can't half-ass that.
Yeah. And again, he's only 10, going on 11, so whatever.
Yeah, hopefully.
And that's it. And then lastly, many of you will be listening to this after the fact. So as of this recording, Tony Khan has not reached out to me to do commentary on the AEW TV in Philly this Wednesday.
I saw that unwieldy hashtag, and I was wondering what would become of our Patreon shows. Right.
Well, I appreciate friend of the show, Tom Green, for doing that. He always, when he had done it a couple weeks ago, and then he did it like a couple weeks after that, and then like here we are close to the show, and he kind of really gave the hardcore press, tagging Tony Khan, other people doing the hashtag, and I appreciate it, but I don't live in a fantasy world where I thought this was going to happen. Say what you will about what EVPs may or may not be there, but I would guess that the fact that even as a joke, no one reached out to me from AEW means that the Young Bucks still have a lot of power and sway there.
Oh no.
It is. It like I said, it's not like I had my hopes up, like, oh, it's really going to happen because, like, 100 people retweeted it or whatever it was. Like, I'm like, I'm realistic,
I'm sad though. That's the first AEW I would have watched.
You never hung out and watched any up at DJ's house?
No, I don't think I ever did.
I could have swore you were up there maybe one time for a pay-per-view or something. Weren't you live tweeting something? Maybe was it the Royal Rumble? Maybe.
Yeah, but is that AEW?
No, it's not. But I'm just trying to like put it into my head of like sometime that you may have watched that.
Probably. Okay, definitely WrestleMania because I always, live tweet that.
Sure.
The 2 nights now, because nothing's better than, if anything's better than 1 night of wrestling, it's 2 nights of wrestling. But yeah, so Royal Rumble, I think, was the one where you PayPal'd me $1, so I had to watch it.
Right, right.
Or no, it was the first Raw after Vince got shit canned.
Right, that's true.
Right, so yeah, so I watched too much wrestling already. I can't be doing AEW unless, like I said, you're in charge, so. Give you the pencil, Joe.
No, that's not going to happen anytime soon. I'm happy with the limited accessibility and influence I have in the world of sports and entertainment.
Right.
So, how about you? Well, how was your week? What have you been up to?
Well, as always, I watched the Raiders lose this weekend, so we're not going to talk about that. They're the only team in the whole NFL without a win yet in 3 weeks. So that
really,
that makes me sad. And I don't know football, so because I went backwards in the picks, but otherwise, whatever. I had fun watching football over the weekend. But then your other co-host Adam gave me talk to me on Porch Talk. He's like, "Oh, there's going to be a toy con called RetroCon in Philadelphia," which I originally thought was at the convention center in Philly, but it wasn't. So
I knew it wasn't. I knew it was in like some place like Oaks, PA, or something.
Yeah, I think that's where it was.
So it's like outside of Philly or something,
right? So he's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about going, but nobody." I think he put it in the chat, and nobody was interested. So I said, "Let me think about it." I said, "What day? Saturday, Sunday?" I said, "He's like, I don't know if I want to go." I said, "You're gonna want to go." Friday, I get the text. "You want to go?" I'm like, "All right, what time?" And he's like, "Whatever time." It was like, I'll be at your house at 8:30. So I was like, all right, he was on. Well, it opened up at 10, I think.
I was gonna say that's early on a Saturday to be awake. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, I'm up already. I work, so he showed up at 8:30. We had to go inflate his tires because all the pressures were low because it was cold that morning. So
was he in the long line at like a Sheetz or something for the free air?
No, okay, because he goes, we got to go up to Sheetz. I'm like, fuck that. And he's like, why? I said, because
I'll give you a quarter. We'll go to Turkey Hill or whatever.
Right? No. But first of all, I'm like, do you know where the old Carvel was in Dixon? You know what I mean? On Main Street.
Yeah.
That got torn down. It's no longer an ice cream place. And they put up I think it's a Mavis tire, maybe?
Yeah.
And they have free air right there. I'm like, well, why go up to Sheetz where it's going to be busy in the morning?
Always.
I said, this place, I don't know if it isn't open yet. It just opens like in the morning. It's literally go up, turn right, go 2 blocks out of our way, and then you turn back and you go head towards 81.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. So we went over there, and the thing I like about that one, he said the Sheetz has it too. You just set it to the pressure you want, and then you put it on the tire, and it beeps when it's done. So that's nice. You don't have to like keep checking with the gauge and everything like that.
Yeah, so that's pretty fancy.
Oh yeah, fancy for a fancy gentleman. Then we went over to Dunkin' Donuts, the Attic Central. We went over there and he got a coffee, and we headed down. And we got there, and the line was around the block. Like, it was actually crazy. We got there, we're like, okay, we're gonna park. We had to park like, I don't know how far away. Adam joked it was like a mile, but it was a walk. And we got there, and there was a long line, and this was already about 10:30 because we didn't like fly down, so we figured like it would be kind of dead, like getting into like once the doors open, like there's that initial line, but it was moving real slow. We're like, holy shit, like this is gonna take forever. We didn't eventually get in till maybe. We got down there around 11:30, quarter to 11, 10:30, quarter to 11, and we didn't get in until maybe noon. You know what I mean? So that was crazy. And while I'm in line, this car comes driving by with the sun behind them. Right. So I couldn't really see because the sun was in my eyes. And I hear, "Hey, Todd." And I'm like, who is that? Is that who I think it is? And Adam's like, who? And I'm like, I think that was Icarus, aka Sinestro. I'm like, but I couldn't tell. But then I'm like, so I know a guy. I know a guy who knows a guy. Right. I could contact him, who lets me know when my pool post is wrong. So I texted you. I'm like, was that Sinestro? And you texted right back. He's like, yeah, he was, coming to the show. But then you said, like, the line was too long, so he skipped. Well, I thought he left.
Yeah, so did I. So, so you send that to me, right? And I send to him, I'm like, did you just yell Todd's name? Mm-hmm. And he replies, what? I go, are you at the RetroCon deal? And he goes, I drove by. The line was crazy, so I decided to skip it. He goes, how did Todd recognize me? And I said, you yelled his name.
Right. And then I wasn't 100% sure just because I couldn't really see him. As mentioned in the beginning of the show, my eyes are bad. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I wasn't sure. And I mean, the Icarus was too close to the sun for me, so I couldn't tell.
Right. So good pun.
There you go.
You give your writers a raise for that one. So he texted me back saying like, oh, I have the wife and kid with me. I'm heading home, and then I'm probably going to drive back in an hour or so, because I guess he lives in the area, right?
Okay.
And he said that his plan was that you wouldn't notice that it was him.
But he was going to drive away, but the car in front of him stopped.
Right. He was right. He was. What the hell? Wasn't there like what the hell movie was it where they're like, oh, we're gonna get this guy, and they moon him, but they pull up like they pull up at a stoplight, and the guy's there just with his ass hanging out of the car.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he goes, I wanted to be some random stranger yelled Todd's name, and then I would text you later is how I totally got him.
Right. But in the end, I think I was the one who was getting him.
Right.
So.
So I guess he came back. You ended up. You and Adam ended up interacting with him at the convention.
Right. So, like, to jump forward, we end up getting in. It takes a little bit. They end up doing, as we get closer, they're like, oh, we're going to open up another line, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And so they kind of do open up a line. They're like, well, people over here can, take their money and get their wristbands, and anybody who's not waiting can walk over there. And over there was just right in the building. So me and Adam, like, cut line because the guy's like, go ahead. And, like, people were getting all mad at us and stuff like that because I was like, that guy told me. I'm like, I'm just going. So
I'm doing what the man said, okay?
Exactly. Like, get off my back, right? So we go in, and then this is like a while we're there. And I'm walking, and Icarus and his wife are there. And they end up stopping, and we ended up talking. And I was like, oh, if only for a minute. And I was like, okay. And he told me all that he meant to stop the car, and you texted him. And like we're kind of in the middle of the aisle, and she had a stroller or a cart with a kid in it. So like we're talking, and I'm like, well, I see you're busy. You're with your wife. I didn't know if it was his wife or not, but you know what I mean. I'm like, yeah. You're busy. And she's like, oh, no, stay and talk. He listens to your podcast all the time. And I'm like, then he don't need to hear my big fat mouth now. Go with like your family. You know what I mean? Like, go have a good time. She's like, no. And I'm like, he wants to go. I could tell. Like, Icarus is like, I want to look at toys. So that was kind of our meeting. And I introduced Adam. My clout, I introduced Adam to him. So.
Oh, good.
He got to meet him, and Adam told me that he's one of his favorite heels from Chikara. So
yeah, because we're watching like that era of Chikara as like homework and stuff on the At Odds with Wrestling. Sure.
And then I went, how could a guy who's goofy like me and so nice be a good heel? He was like, he's pretty good, and I was like, okay, I only know this version. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and I only met him like 2 or 3 times in my life. So
yeah.
But that was kind of nice. So I ended up getting to talk to him. Anytime I can meet one of your friends, Joe, it always warms my heart. So.
You didn't run into any other people that you might recognize there?
Not that I know of. Why?
Over by the Monkey Mobile or anything?
Oh, no, I didn't because no, they wouldn't pay for that. They wouldn't go down and pay for that.
Right.
But Kit was there. They had Kit. They had I wanted to take a picture, but that was where it was all clustered up at the back.
Gotcha.
There was the Monkey Mobile. There was Kit. There was the Back to the Future car.
Night Boat. Was Night Boat there?
But you know who was there? Butch Patrick was there. So I got something notarized.
Oh, good. He's got that going for him, too.
Yep. I was walking around. I was trying to get the picture because it was so tough. The back row, the back row was kind of wide. But it had the stars on one side and the vehicles for the photo ops on the other. And they had the lines taped on the floor to if you wanted to wait for somebody, you stood in these things. Like they didn't have ropes or anything like that.
Yeah. Like so they made they made their own velvet ropes out of tape.
Right, on the floor. So it was impossible to walk. There was no row because all these lines were kind of jamming up against each other. So I kind of wanted to take a picture of the Butch Patrick banner and say I was getting something notarized, like you said, but I couldn't. And I was like, this isn't my thing. I think Fig Daddy Cool was there, but I didn't get a photo with him.
Now, I was going to suggest, and again, I don't know if there's a way that you could relay this message to Fig Daddy Cool.
It's tough, but I could send him a raven.
Right. Oh, there you go. That Fig Daddy Cool should have been he should have been the one social mediaing from the RetroCon.
Right.
And he should have been the one I'm being recognized all over the place. My Fig blessings are known worldwide and all this other shit. But I'm I'm sure Fig Daddy Cool is busy already.
Yeah, and Fig Daddy is tired. He's getting ready for his big date in New York Comic Con. I heard he's going too. So.
Oh, gotcha.
So maybe he'll take some pictures of some figs and stuff. But I will say this, Joe, all joking aside, because I know we were in the group, hey, anybody want to go? And nobody was really interested. But if I recommend to anybody who wants to toy thing. This thing was huge. I don't know how many. Like I want to say like 2 football fields maybe. Like it was in this big like building, and then while that's going on, somewhere else in the building there was a sports card show. And
I heard about that.
Yeah, like Lenny Dykstra was there. So my gag the whole time to like, do you know how I run bits into the ground sometimes, Joe?
What?
My whole thing was if I buy that, I want to get Lenny Dykstra to sign it. That's all I kept saying. I was like, "Oh, is that?" And I'm like, "Is that Lenny Dykstra?" And because I couldn't pick Lenny Dykstra out of a lineup. But there was everything. Like if you liked wrestling toys, there was wrestling toys. If you liked superhero toys, there was superhero toys. If you liked like old toys, new toys, everything. One guy had Bowen statues, so I was looking through those. I kind of was like, oh, if there's something that pops me, I might grab. I saw like those old Mirage figures that I haven't seen since 2002. The ones that I ended up buying on eBay. If I waited, I could have bought them at this show. They were there. I was like, oh my God, there's a ton of stuff. And we stayed until just about close, like 4:30, 5 o'clock, because Adam was in his glory. This old man couldn't keep up with Adam, who has a hop in his step when he's on a doll safari. Ooh, boy. He's like a man on Spectrox.
Oh, well.
Right.
So Spectrox is the dust that's on those old toys that he's looking at.
Yes.
So just real quick before I ask you what you bought there, Lenny Dykstra is a fascinating character.
Okay.
I don't know how there's many great Lenny Dykstra stories, but this is my favorite. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and again, I don't expect you to know who this person is. I had to just get so I have the particulars, so I'm not fumble fucking through the story,
Right.
Okay. So, Ron Darling, who was a Mets pitcher on the time that Lenny Dykstra was on the Mets, a couple years ago wrote a book. And in his book, he cited many stories about Lenny Dykstra, most notably that during the 1986 World Series, that Lenny Dykstra would regularly yell racial and homophobic slurs at the pitcher for the other team. Okay, this is in his book. So Lenny Dykstra decided to sue Ron Darling over this fact. The judge threw the case out, citing that Lenny Dykstra's reputation is so bad that anything that he attempts to fight in a court of law can be immediately thrown out because there's so much on the record of him doing the things that he was alleged of doing, while he may not have done what he was being alleged of doing at this particular instance in 1986. There's so many other instances of him doing that exact thing over the past 30 years, it would be difficult to disprove it. So Lenny Dykstra is currently by a New York state court. He has been labeled as undefamable. So if you want to go out there and start slandering Lenny Dykstra, he can't sue you.
Oh, good, because I was going to slander him on this podcast.
I think you did by saying that you saw him or something.
I didn't see him. I couldn't pick him out of the lineup. I was hoping to get something signed.
Right. So he would take that as you saying he's not famous enough to be recognizable, and he would sue you over that. He would take you to court, and then you would win the case because he's undefamable.
Right. I would just bring my briefcase and open it and say, just fill this with money, please. Because I won. I don't know. I think that's how court works.
I think they would just throw the case out,
Oh, okay.
And he would have to pay you back for your court costs.
Well, then he could fill the briefcase with my court.
Right. So did you buy anything there?
I did not buy anything.
What? You went to a doll wildlife preserve? I'm not sure what a contained doll safari would be called, but you went and didn't buy nothing?
Right. I was like a game preserve. You know what? It's like, when you see those big game hunters and they get bored and they go and they go to like the little preserve and they buy like 20 pheasants and a rabbit. And then like they go into this caged area and like some guy just like pushes it out and they blast it with a shotgun.
Yeah.
That's what this is. This is like you just dolls land in your lap. And I just don't think it's very, sport. So I didn't want to buy anything. I mean, any fool could go to a convention and buy a doll. But I found Chase figs in the wild. After that, this is yawn, look at my watch kind of a thing. But as I said I went and I saw things that I did want, but I'm like, okay, in 8 days or 10 days, I'm going to New York. I'm going to be eating big. I'm going to be like hopefully spending big. Maybe I won't spend anything in New York, but I'd rather have it all in New York. And Adam took me, Adam drove. It cost me the 20 to get in, which I didn't care about. I had a good time. I walked around. I let Adam go off on his own so he could. But, I had a shitty pretzel, which is always the best part of a con, getting the concessions. Even I didn't want to chance the bagel. I wasn't sure what a concession bagel would be, Joe. I don't know if because they didn't have a toaster. I don't eat no raw bagels, man.
Ugh.
Fuck that. So I did that. I ate, and I was just like, it was fun. And then we ended up coming back home. And I will say this, for some reason, because Adam, and I get it, was like, okay, we're going to take the way down and the way up. He's like, all right, here's my phone, my GPS. I want to go no tolls. It takes 10 minutes longer. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, whatever. You don't want to pay tolls. But no matter what would happen, the phone would reroute them to tolls.
Right.
So I think the phone and the GPS are, in on it with the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Can't you set it up when you do your search that it automatically does no tolls?
Yeah, he would set it up that way.
But it kept pushing them to tolls.
Yes.
Interesting.
So when I asked him, I was like, do you want money? And he's like, no. So like I said, that was that. But one of my favorite things was we're coming back. And he's like, okay, we're going to get on, and it was a lot of back roads. So it felt like it took 5 hours to get home, even though it took 2.5. So he's like, I need a coffee before we go home. And he gets his iced coffees. So we stop at this Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, all right, I'll go in with you. I want an unsweetened iced tea with some raspberry flavoring. I don't want it too sweet, but that's something I can drink. What, you laughing at the unsweetened with raspberry flavoring?
Yeah, I don't know. The raspberry flavoring from a man who might know someone who decries Big Pumpkin.
Right, raspberry's good. Let's not go down that road.
If you're going anything other than lemon and tea, I don't know. I think you might be a little too. That's what you get for hanging around with a fancy gentleman all day,
So we go in. Adam gets his coffee, his iced coffee, and he goes down and I know how Dunkin' works. Now you get it, and they tell you go down the other end, and there's a table or a counter, and get your whatever. So he goes down, and the young lady, and they're all of it's run by all from India. So
okay.
They have the accent. It looks like it's a family, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Okay,
yeah.
Which is fine, whatever. So we're in there, and she's like, okay, what do you want? And I'm like, I want the large unsweetened iced tea, some raspberry flavor. And she's like, raspberry. She's like, okay. I'm looking at the donuts, and I'll get to the story in a second. And they had how the new Dunkin' Donuts have 4, the cafeteria trays. That's what they keep them on.
Yeah.
In the wall. They have 6 cafeteria trays. You could have 12, but they only have 6. It's late in the day, and there's not much of a choice. Do I want a donut or not? So as I'm waiting to figure out if I want a donut, she's like, it'll be down the end of the table, at the end of the counter. And all of a sudden, I'm going to name her Karen, a customer down at the end, for no reason. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So she's down there, and she's like, excuse me. She gets her coffee.
Excuse me.
Yes, lifts the lid off, takes a sip. She's like, excuse me, this doesn't taste right, or this doesn't taste good. I forget what it was, but whatever the saying was, every time Adam took a sip of his coffee on the way home, that's what I said. Right? Does that not taste good or something? So she's like, I don't know. This just doesn't taste good. I don't know. And this the guy's like, and he spoke English, but like a little off. And he's like, no, it doesn't taste good. And I'm like, she's like, no, it just doesn't taste good. Doesn't taste right. And he ends up going, he goes back with another one. He slides it over, and she's got the one like on the counter. She opens it up, and she takes a sip, and he's like, how's that one? It's like, oh, this one tastes better. Tastes better, I guess. Yeah, I could definitely say it's better. He's like, it's from the same pot.
I wouldn't even. Okay, well, that's his first mistake. He shouldn't even have said it was from the same pot. But all right.
Right. So she's like, oh, and she was like, and I don't care. You say whatever. I'm like, baller move, because he's got her. And she just kind of like hemmed and hawed and kind of like, but I was dying. I was just like, and Adam's behind her in the line for the counter, just looking at me, rolling her eyes. And I'm like talking to the girl, because I ended up deciding to get a donut. And she ended up, they all really had a sour cream. So I got a sour cream donut that I wanted, glazed sour cream. And I'm like, how much is this? She's like, it's $1.29. So I put the $1.29 down on the table. She's like, no, just take it. You know, kind of a deal, just take it. I'm like, you're having a heck of a day. She's like, yeah, just take it. So I just scooped up the $1.29 and put it right in the tip cup. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, you're paying for a donut. But the lady kind of like huffed and left. And I was like, oh, I was waiting for this to explode. You know what I mean? But it didn't. So
a potential powder keg avoided, you know?
Yes. You know, you put a spark near a Karen and things are over. Can I speak to the manager, please?
Oh, my goodness.
So
I'm the manager.
I was like, this donut doesn't taste very good. Can I get another one?
It's out of the same tray, huh?
Yeah, out of the same tray. Donut was good, though. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah, when Dunkin' Donuts has donuts these days, they're actually pretty good. It's very far and few between.
I'm mad that nobody has a good peanut stick anymore, so
yeah,
that was my go-to. Back in the day when I had a friend from high school who worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and they used to like make the donuts in there. And she'd be like, oh, they're making the donut, like whatever. Like she'd know what time they made them. So I'd go in and she'd be like, peanut stick? I'd be like, yeah. And you'd get it and it'd have the glaze on it, because they would get the fresh glaze and they'd just roll the donut in peanuts. Oh my God. I'd be like, give me 10. You know what I mean? So
I don't think any Dunkin' Donuts around here anymore make their own donuts on premises anymore.
No, they don't. And it's the same thing with Wegmans. They don't have, a lot of them don't have the bakery on site. They just have, like, they will bake a few things.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff is trucked in anymore. They just have it at one big centralized location for like the local, like whatever's around it. And then they bring it in with the carts. I've seen them do it at Dunkin' Donuts in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me sad. Like,
yeah. You know? They get such a shitty selection anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so few of the donuts. When I go, the far and few between times when I go and I ask for a donut, I say, what donuts do you have? I don't even ask for a specific donut, because it's like, and it's not like I'm asking for like some sort of crazy off the wall shit, you know? Like I literally ask for like a chocolate glaze and they're like, we don't have those.
Yeah. I mean, the only place that really has a good selection of donuts all the time is Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme's top of the food chain.
They are. And I mean, you could just inhale a box. You know what I mean? They're so light. I mean, they give me the shakes and I fall down afterwards. But they are so good. Like you can mash one up into your fist and just pop it in like Xanax. Just boom and down the gullet.
I think they might be like they're non-prescription Xanax, I would say.
Yes. Though I am a fan, though. Now I can't eat it as much because it's not my sweet tooth is going away. But I was a big raspberry jelly. Once again, raspberry jelly filled at Krispy Kreme. That is good.
I would have never, and again, I'll choose my words carefully here. I would have never have guessed you as a raspberry man. You know,
I'm a raspberry/peach man. They don't make peach donuts, but if I get tea, it's always raspberry or peach flavoring.
Right.
I mean, I will go with lemon. That's the standard. But if you want to be a basic bitch like Joe, you get lemon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there you go. So,
All right, well, I'm glad you had a nice adventure this week. And then you're going to have another nice adventure next week when you head off to New York for New York City Comic Con.
Yep. I will say this here. I don't know how many of our in our doll chat listen, but I'm going to spread the word later. While I'm on the trip, I'm shutting off the notifications to the doll chat.
Oh, good.
Well, I don't care if anybody asks me anything, but like when we get going, people get going in that doll chat. Like if somebody asks me, like, did you see this there? And I'm walking around for 15 minutes, not having a chance to look at my phone, and like say news pops up from the show, and you guys have like 34 messages after that, I'm not going to see it. So like you or Adam or anybody else, I'm like, contact me personally if you see something or hear something that you want me to look for, because there's no way I'm going to be able to keep up in the doll chat over 4 days while I'm like, walking and not getting a chance to look for a half hour, 45 minutes. So.
I'll post your phone number in the doll chat just in case anyone wants to get in touch with you directly.
There you go. And offline too,
Right. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Longbox Heroes After Dark 411. Go sign up for the Patreon, get these early, get the bonus shows every month. Previewing the past, look at those old previews catalogs that are expertly scanned. Wherever you're finding the show, be sure to check out the Amazon affiliate link. Give us a click through. Support the show, tell a friend, share the links, vote in the things, interact, that sort of thing. So, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you all here next week.
You're listening to the soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of podcast networks.